Hello everybody, welcome to my channel, Ashley's Treasure, and I got all these scraps that I'm going to use up and start making some little labels, and it's going to be a lot like Sevenplaza, Margaret, how she does it. She does them 3 by 1.5, and then a smaller one, 2 and 3/4 by 1 1/4 on top. I'm going to do mine a little bit smaller. I'm going to make it 2 3/4 by 1 1/4, and then on top ones that are 2.5 by 1, and I want to do ones with more texture. So I found this like fun paper, some doilies, some of the cardboard. I got some napkins I thought I could use, and some with stains on it, you know how we always like stains, and then this like fun fabric, all sorts of color. I had this like white foam sheet stuff that was from a package I thought might be interesting. There's paper with that are embossed, and paper that I've embossed I thought I could possibly use. I got acetate paper with this really nice white design on it. So I started doing the big ones first. That I made sure that they were 2 3/4 by 1 1/4, and I just went to town and was cutting one after another, and before you know it, I end up making way too many, which is okay. I can always store them for later, but yeah, I just kept going to town just one after another. This one's already 2 3/4, so now I just gotta make it 1 1/4. Yeah, 2 3/4 by 1 1/4. So those are the big ones. So these are going to be in the back. And then see, here's the acetate. I definitely wanted to use some of them for in the back. So I want that the bigger size, 2 3/4 by 1 1/4. Sorry, it's kind of hard to see because of being acetate, but at the end it looked really awesome. So I'm really glad that I used some of that. And that's the perfect size right there. I made a couple of them. Alright, and then I went to my smaller trimmer paper cutter. It made it a lot easier, and I was doing 3 strips at a time, just to save time. And I think that's what made it so much easier and faster that I ended up going a little overboard and making way more than I needed to. But that's perfectly alright. I got plenty stored up ready to go for next time. They're super fun to make. And now I'm going to start making the smaller ones to put on top of the bigger ones, which is going to be 2.5 by 1. So they're already, these ones are already an inch thick, and so now I'm making them 2.5 inches long. And again, I was doing like 3 at a time, which made it super easy and fast. There was some from books that I wanted to make sure I had them in there. This was from a children's school book, actually, and I really liked that bird on there, and I wanted to try doing that so that one would be on top, so I had to make it 2.5 by 1. So I made it 1 inch there, and now 2.5 long, and that part that I was trying to cut didn't quite cut completely even, so I had to go back over, and that was better. And then here are all of them that I cut up. I have more than enough. And I try to stay with that whole winter woodland thing that I had going on. So I have all, whites and some wood grain and light browns and blues going on. So here are all of them that's 2 3/4 by 1 1/4, and then all the ones that are 2.5 by 1 are on the right side. See how many I made? Way more than I needed to. I went overboard. You do not have to make this many if you want to make some too. But now I'm going to try to lay down the big ones first. These are going to be on the back. They're going to be like the border of it. Oh, there's some watercolor paper too that I used. I like the texture to it. But yeah, I definitely wanted to use some of that clear acetate. I'm trying to get ones not duplicates. I wanted just like one of a certain design so I can try out different ones. But I had so much scrapbook scraps to use up. Oh, and I also have some from a German book as well. I love the font that they have. Alright, so now I'm going to use the smaller ones that are 2.5 by 1 on top of the bigger ones that's 2 3/4 by 1 1/4. So they'll have like a 1/8 inch border around them. So I'm just kind of like seeing which two goes best together by color and design. All right, now I got them all paired up. Now some of them I want to try cutting the corners. So like this one, I can't remember this corner. I think it's called the stub corner, kind of like on like tickets. And I did like that. It gives that really cool shape to it. And the ones on top I did with the big ones for each corner so that they would match perfectly. I also have a curved corner punch. And so I tried that one as well. That one wasn't bad. So now all four sides match. Another way to decorate the corners was by doing straight edges. And so these ones, I just cut one side and then match it to the other side. I didn't do the greatest job on this one. I ended up changing it a little bit. But that's another design you could do on a corner. And then I forgot that I had all that fabric and lace and everything that I wanted to try using. So I did some of them really quick and cut them to match some. And some of them I wanted to distress, so I distressed a couple of them that I definitely knew, like this one I wanted to, so that it kind of stood out and didn't blend in too much together. And I think I used frayed burlap, the distressed oxide frayed burlap. And so I'm not going to show you every single one because that would be a little bit boring, but this is one of them that I did, that I distressed. Look how big of a difference it made having it distressed. But this one needed a little bit more. And now it looks much better. I really like that. And then some of them, like this one, I used my permanent glue stick because that German book page is very thin and I was afraid of putting my art glitter glue, since it's water-based, that it would make it very bumpy and wouldn't lay straight, flat, you know? So that's why I used my glue stick on that one. It also worked with fabric as well. This is from a napkin with that stain on it, or the linen. This one with the cardboard, I definitely wanted to be distressed. I absolutely love how this one turned out at the end. I think it's one of my favorites. This one I did use the art glue because of the dimension, you know, the bumps to it, the waviness to it. I definitely wanted to make sure that the glue stuck in there, so that's why I used the art glitter glue, and I used thicker scrapbook paper on top of it. I also forgot I want to use some paper doilies, so I just used one that I already had cut out as like a template, and I kind of just marked it with my nail, kind of left a crease on it so I knew where to cut it, and it worked. You could also use like a different tool if you needed to, but I wanted to have it so the design would be like perfectly centered, like symmetrical. So now I'm just following that line that I made with my nails and just cutting it off with the scissors. And I thought it would look great on this scrap piece of scrapbook paper. And since I have the corners cut off, I'm just going to do the top two corners of the doily. I'm not worried about the bottom because it already has that design. So now it looks, I think it looked really good. And this part I'm going to distress, but not the doily, the paper doily. And I noticed that some of the holes weren't completely punched through. Some of the paper was still stuck in there, so I used my pointy tool, one of them, and just kind of punching them holes out to make sure they were all out so it looks right. Kind of bugs me sometimes when those little pieces of paper are still stuck in there. And this one, because that paper doily is so thin and delicate, I just dabbed it with the permanent glue stick. And it worked perfect. And this is like a piece of lace that was actually from a scarf. I actually used some of this in my winter woodland layouts. I did like a window with the lace through it. I'll have to tag that below in the description box. If you haven't seen it yet, you might like it. And yeah, I just used the art glitter glue for this one because I know it sticks pretty well. And art glitter glue does dry clear, so I wasn't too worried if some of it seeps through, but I wanted to make sure that that stuck well. And that's going to look so great once it's decorated. But I definitely wanted to distress the outside as well. And towards the top right, you can see I used the that sheet of foamy stuff I used on there to layer as well. This one, because of being acetate, I wanted to try using some double-sided tape because I do not like using art glitter glue with acetate. Like you could, but you gotta be careful because it oozes out. And so that's why I wanted to use the foam. And then here at the, or not foam, the double-sided tape. And I also used it on this piece of foam as well because it's partly see-through. So that's why I wanted to try using a double-sided tape. And they both worked great. This is one of the tricks I do all the time when I use double-sided tape. I just take a portion of it off and fold it out and then line it up where I want it so it's exactly where I want it, and then remove the rest of the back. Some of them I also just cut the corners off of the top to make it look like a tag, because not all of them will be like landscape. Some of them will be portrait, you know, horizontal or vertical. And this is one of them. And I also tried the acetate with the permanent glue stick, and that worked as well too, where you didn't see it in the back. Another trick I did was distressing the edges with my distressing tool. If you don't have like this one or Tim Holtz, he has like a little distressing tool too, you can simply just use your scissors, the sharp part, you know, and just rub it onto your paper to give that distress look as well. And then since this fabric, it was meant to be bumpy like that, it's supposed to have that special texture. And I was debating about using art glitter glue, but I was afraid that it would take that dimension away from it. So again, I'm going to try the double-sided tape. And when I flipped it over, I liked the back of it more than the front because of the texture to it. So I actually put the tape on the front to have it on the back. Because on the bottom you can see that thread, like the way it goes up and down and everything. It just gives more character. And the double-sided tape did work, so. And then this is a part of a napkin I even used. I used a corner of one because I liked how that sewing was on the side, and it's like a very light blue. I didn't cut it absolutely perfect, but it worked. I made it look like it was symmetrical. But here are some of them, like the lace, the doily, there's the napkin. Some of them I'm going to have it upwards like this because of the font and the design on it. These ones I did with the curved corners. As you can see, that's watercolor paper. The other one was that dimensional paper. Some of them I just left as is with the straight corners. Here's that fabric again, some acetate, some of that foam. And then these ones are kind of like the oddballs. These ones I kind of made look like little tags. And then this one I also tried the other side of my We Are Memory Keepers punched where I did the stubs. This is the other side. I can't remember what they call the other side, but I didn't really like the way that looked on that one, so I only did one of them that way. But now it is time to decorate, where you could have been done before and just keep them, like mass make them and keep them aside until you want to decorate, but I really wanted to decorate these, so I kind of got in mind like where I'm going to go with these. Like I found certain little animals that I got from children's dictionaries that I already had fussy cut out, and I kind of found some that I kind of know where I'm going to go with them, how to decorate them. So here's like a quick look of what I have in mind. And so first I'm going to start with this one, this little chickadee. And then I found this piece, this piece of leaf that I found outside when we were going for a walk. And I thought that would look really cool in it for, because of being like a nature themed journal. I'm using some of Tim Holtz's specimen or field note embellishment, and I thought that looked great on it right in the center. And of course I had to distress them with the distressed oxide, the frayed burlap. And then I just started using my art glitter glue to glue everything down. It's quick and easy. So I'm laying that down in the center first, and then I wanted some of this little plant, so I got like 3 little pieces. I broke it down to put on that top left corner. So I just keep snipping off little pieces with my scissors. I was just going to use 2, but I'm like, no, it needs 3. But it was a little difficult to have them stay in place where I wanted them. But eventually I made it work. But it needed something in between them, so I used this tiny piece of cheesecloth that I always have cheesecloth with me. It gives a great texture, and because of being winter woodland theme that I had going on, it kind of gives a feeling of snow to me. So I love using that. And now I'm placing those little pieces of the plant on there. And now I'm doing another dab of the art glitter glue to place the cheesecloth and the bird. And I did, because that part was so tiny, the branch, instead of trying to dab the glue on that, I just put some of my finger and spread it on those tiny little spots to know that it had just enough glue but not too much, and that'll stay in place. And look how cute that is. Next, I'm going to do this little blue jay. I used a lot of pieces from the field notes from Tim Holtz, the small ones, the tiny ones. So this is the one with the paper doily. I had both of these cut out from the children's dictionary. These pine needles, I could have cut off all the white, but there's so much going on that I wanted to do so many of them. So I just did a easy fussy cut around it instead of going individual into each one, which actually isn't that hard because it's just straight lines. But if I was just going to do that one, I probably would have cut all the white off. But since I wanted to do so many, I didn't, just to save time. But now I'm just going to do the little blue jay kind of in between the branches and the pine cones. So it looks like it all goes together. And I thought that looked so cute together. Next, I'm going to use this paper punch that I got from a thrift store. And it has little snowflakes. And it's for like a border one, but I haven't used it as a border. I've been using it to get these tiny little snowflakes. I've been using it like crazy lately. I absolutely love it. And I was going to use this feather that I fussy cut out from a children's book. And then I have this sticker from one of was it Hot? No, it was Michael's. The sticker books from the Christmas themed ones. They tend to have these little strips that you can also use for like calendars and stuff, or to and from tags. And I really like this light blue one because it had some gold on it too, and I thought it matched perfect with the colors that were going on with this tag and with the feather. So I cut it in half so I could have some on both sides, and then had the the feather in the middle. And then I also wanted some snowflakes on there, so I have one on the top right, and then I'm going to have one a little bit lower down here on the bottom right. And then I'm going to glue the feather down because I'm going to have the other snowflake on top of it. And then I actually got some glue on the side and I was trying to like erase it to get it off. But I love how that turned out. Next, I'm going to do a hawk. And this is another one of Tim Holt's little embellishments. And these all looked like they needed some distressing. So I distressed all of them with the same ink. And then it had the name of the animal on the bottom, and so I just tore that off and went along with the drawing, so it didn't look, I didn't want like a straight edge, cut off. I wanted to look kind of natural or organic. And so I distressed that as well so it all matched. And I used more of the teeny tiny snowflakes from that paper punch that I just used, and then just gonna start gluing down all with art glitter glue. And since those little snowflakes are so tiny, I used my needle to help pick them up and place them where I needed them. And then I was debating about putting the name of the animal, the hawk, on there, so I cut that out, and of course I had to distress that as well. which was a little challenging because of how tiny it is, but of course I made it work. And I was trying to find the right place for it, and it just wasn't working. Like, I don't know, there's just something about it. I didn't like it. Like, it could have worked, but not for me. So I used some numbers that I cut out from book pages, and I was thinking about using this one, which actually wasn't bad. It could have worked, but I found this one instead, and I just snipped the corners off just a teeny tiny bit so they're not straight 90-degree angles, you know, so it has a little bit of curve to them. And I ended up going with this one instead because it was more unique. It was like 63.47, and then it had like a star on it. So I distressed that and I ended up gluing that down over the hawk's tail. And then here's a little close-up. I really like how that turned out. Next is this blue jay that I'm going to do. Again, I think this is all Tim Holtz embellishments from the field note again. And I tried to go off from the colors of the blue jay. And I think that worked really well together. And there's a little close-up of it. I like how that turned out. Next is going to be a little mourning dove. I'm going to have a little bit of cheesecloth behind it to make it look like there's snow in it. And then it just needed something on the top left. And I thought that little piece was perfect. It has like the same colors going on to match the bird. This one was pretty quick and easy. And I like the corners to this one as well. And here's a little close-up of that one. Next, I'm going to do this little wren. And again, I'm just using pieces of Tim Holtz ephemera from the field notes, and I'm distressing them all. This one I just had kind of centered inside of it, so it's kind of like a third layer in a way. There were still some tiny branches on that branch, so I just put some distress ink over it so it's not so white, so it'll all kind of blend in together. And since there was that open space on there, it seemed like it needed like a number or something. So I was testing it first, and I liked the way it looked. So with the same ink, I just stamped a random number on there. And now gluing down the circle, and then the wren on top. I really liked the way that looked with the wren on top of that circle. It's amazing how that circle made such a difference. And here's a little close-up of that one. Next, I did this woodpecker, and I loved the background of it because the scrapbook paper had a pine tree on it, and so I thought that looked perfect for this woodpecker because it's like on a part of a tree. and so it looked like it was in the picture. And then it needed something on the top left, so I looked at my stamps and I love this one. I use this one a lot. It's like those stamps that you see on packaging through the mail, you know, like cards and stuff from the post office. I love the curvy like kind of like scallop edges to it. And so I stamped that on the top left, and then I was trying to find something to put underneath it. So I was going through Tim Holtz's little stuff and trying to find the right one, and finally I eventually found one. I liked the look of this one, so eventually I ended up distressing it and gluing that one down as well. I think that color matched with the bird pretty well because it had some of that a little bit on its tummy and a little bit on its wings, which brings that color out more. And then since it's like a mini tag, I did get my crocodile and punched a hole out for it. And I have this stuff that I don't know if it's like straw or hay or what. I think it's like a type of straw that I think I got from a Dollar Tree, to be honest. That or a thrift store, which I know you can find them at Dollar Tree stores too. But I wanted to put that on top, but one layer didn't seem like enough, so I took it off and double layered it, and just did a simple knot on it, and then snipped the end of it off so that it all matches. And I really like the way that looked, like it was meant to be. It was a perfect color and texture and everything. Next, I'm going to do this little bobcat. So I glued the bobcat down first, and again I'm going to use those little snowflakes from that paper punch. I was trying to get a little bit of a variety of sizes. And then place them all over, one on the top right, one towards the bottom. And one kind of in the middle on the right. Oh, apparently not on the right. I changed my mind and wanted it on the left side. And then I thought it needed something underneath his paw. I put a scrap piece of cheesecloth underneath it. It made it look like it was stepping on snow. I thought that looked so much better. And then this is one of my favorite ones. Again, I used some cheesecloth. I used that white plant that the bird's underneath is from a die cut that I just happened to have that I never used from another project that was just a scrap piece. That looked perfect for it, like it was coming out from a plant, for like it was hiding and now it's like out flying, you know. And then I used another one of Tim Holtz's little ephemera, and I just glued that on the top left, that number 24. I liked the colors that was going on. It just all worked out so well together. It looked like it was meant to be. Because if I remember right, isn't that bird a pheasant? And you know how they hide in like the grass and stuff, and then they hear a noise, they go flying out, and it kind of looks like that, like it's actually happening. But I love the browns that are going on in this. And I'm just snipping off some of the cheesecloth that was hanging off, and here's a little close-up of it. Next, I'm going to do this little owl that was from apparently a Sesame Street children's book on animals. And this one, instead of having it landscape, I'm going to have this portrait. So instead of horizontal, it's going to be vertical. And then here's another one of Timos. I like this one because it was shaped as a diamond. And then it looked perfect with that scrapbook paper with the little pine trees in it. And then I'm using the teeny tiny snowflakes again from the paper punch. And here's a little close-up of that one. So cute. And then I'm going to do another owl. I tried to make this a little bit smaller. I have a circle punch that just took a thin layer out off of it. I thought that looked better, and so I was just dressing it, thinking I was going to use it. And then this one, there's a number, but in Roman numerals, because I just need a little something. And then this one again, instead of fussy cutting all that white off, I just added some distress ink on it to kind of tone it down instead of being white. I thought that looked a lot better. And I thought it looked great right in the middle on this one. So I'm going to glue it down with the art glitter glue. And just so you know, a lot of you might already know, but art glitter glue does not have glitter in it. It's just the name of the brand. And then I was going to snip the left side, but I wanted to keep the branch that was going off. I wanted to keep that there. That part I'm not going to trim off. But it definitely needed something on the bottom, and it seemed like that circle was too big, so I was trying to find a smaller label. And these aren't perfectly symmetrical, so I was snipping off some of the extra pieces on the outside to make it a little tad bit smaller and more symmetrical, and I like that a lot more. So of course I had to distress that as well with the distressed oxide frayed burlap, and then start gluing it down. And then because of being a woodland theme going on, I got some just plain old white paint and then a very fine brush. I'm kind of going with the strokes of the pine needles to give a more of a snowy winter look. And I didn't put a lot on there, just a small dab and just kind of stroking along with the pine needles. And it made a huge difference. And now I'm going to dab some on top of the branch so it looks like the snow fell onto the branch as well. I'm not really doing any strokes, I'm just doing tiny little dabs. And then, of course, on the label, I needed to stamp something, so I found another number. This stamp set I got from Temu. I absolutely love it. I've been using it a lot. It was definitely worth it. And then I'm just going to stamp that onto that little label. I just did the first 3 numbers. And it didn't go out even, but luckily I was able to realign it and try again. Much better. There's a little close-up. Next, I'm going to do this little chickadee, and I needed some snowflakes, and this deer has some blue on it, and I thought it would be nice to have some blue snowflakes because it has that same light blue. But that deer is actually a sticker, and it was really hard to punch through that paper punch, so it didn't turn out the greatest, but it kind of worked. Some of them went through. So I'm like kind of moving it with my scissors, trying to see if I like it or not and where I should place it. I was debating, I had a tiny piece of that paper doily I was debating about having behind it or not, because it kind of looked like snow to me. I had to distress that little circle really quick. And then I was just cutting off some extra pieces that was hanging off from the back. And I did end up using those little snowflakes. And even though they were sticker, I still end up gluing them down. Although I was debating, would it look better with white or blue? That's why I was putting a white one over it. But it still looked like it needed something. So I got that white paint out again, and with the needle to my art glitter glue, I took the needle out and was just using the tip of it to just add little dots onto the snowflakes. So I did one in like the center first, and I liked where this was going. I had a little hard time on the bottom left one to get the right size. So I actually got a pencil out because it needed like a little bit bigger of a dot, and that was a lot better. And then I just used some little ones on the end of the snowflakes. And then one on that teeny tiny snowflake as well. It's amazing how little details like that make such a difference. And here's a little close-up of how it turned out. Next, I'm going to do this coyote. And I'm going to use some of the cheesecloth in the background to give that snowy feel to it. I was going to do a little number on the bottom right, because it always looks great having a number. No reason really, but just for the look of it. I really liked the circle, but I cut off some of it that was hanging off, because they're not perfectly centered, and that's okay. They're supposed to, because they're printed off of original labels. And so they're supposed to be like that, but sometimes I don't mind them like that, but sometimes I don't like it and I want it off, and that one I did want off, so I just snipped it off and distressed it, and then I'm going to have it kind of behind it, and it kind of makes it look like the coyote is howling with the moon behind it. That's what the label kind of looks like to me. And then I'm adding that little bit of cheesecloth to be where I want it on the coyote first, and then I'm going to add a tad bit more and glue that down onto the label. And then I was cutting off the rest of the coyote, which actually kind of looked the way it just was. Like, that's not bad having the whole thing like that. But I ended up cutting it off. I added a little bit more glue because it wasn't completely stuck on yet. And I liked how that looked. But I thought there was a little piece of that circle that was sticking out, so that needed to be cut off too. I think that looked better, so they both were completely straight. So then I thought, why not add the rest of the coyote in the back? So I ended up gluing it on in the back as well. Next, I'm going to do this eagle, and this circle is from when I was using up scraps of fabric and I was stamping. That was in one of my mask making. I'll have to add that in the description box below too, so you won't miss out on that one. That was really fun. And here I'm going to use one of them. And I kind of knew where I was going with this, but there was something missing and it was driving me nuts for the longest time, but I finally figured out what it needed. But I found this little saying that I cut out. I don't know what it was from, but I thought it fit pretty well with this owl, but I was playing around with different pieces of Tim Holtz ephemera thinking it needed more, but I really like this saying. I'm trying to remember what it said. You could look further afield. And I thought it was suiting for an eagle. And so I'm going to have it like this, but it still needed something. So I found this border strip of scrapbook paper that had this green on it, which went well with the green pine needles with the pine cones on that scrapbook paper. So it just needed the finest, border to it. So I glued those sayings onto the scrapbook and then just fussy cut it off with a thin border, sorry. And I'm just kind of snipping off the corners just a tiny bit. So it's not such sharp corners. And I like that so much more, and it didn't blend in so much, and it kind of stood out, but not like too much. It was just right. And that was the scrap piece that I just cut off from the first one was like the perfect size. So I just glued the rest of the word on there and then trim off the rest. It's always nice being able to use up scraps. And then snipping off the corners again. Just a tiny, tiny bit. And then I had to do something to the eagle to make it stand out because it blended into that fabric too much. So I used the scrap pieces of that strip and just did like 3 layers. And being such a thin border around it, it wasn't so noticeable that it was 3 pieces compared to just 1. And I just fussy cut a thin layer around it and it looks great. And now it stands out compared to that white fabric behind it, and it blends in, matches with the saying as well, so it all looks like one piece that belongs together. And again, small things make such a difference. That green border made a huge difference. I love how that turned out. Next, I'm going to do this one. This one's going to have a Wolverine on it. And again, I was testing some numbers out to see what it would look like if I like it or not. I used a different ink this time, and it didn't quite look right. Or no, this one was, I think this one's pumice stone, isn't it? So I used a number and then the NO number on top of it. And I glued down a couple of the teeny tiny snowflakes. And I used that ink instead of the frayed burlap because of the blue going on with it. And because the Wolverine is going to cover up the number on the top right, it seemed like it needed numbers on it, so that's why I stamped the numbers on the left side. And And look at that. That was pretty quick and easy. Same as this one, actually. This one I was going to use these little icicles. I tried doing it on another project and it didn't end up going in another project. So I ended up using this on this little label. And at first I thought I needed cheesecloth behind it, but it ended up being too much. So I just put the icicle on there and let it hang off. And I really like the way it looked on there, especially with those colors going on. And then the top part I did cut off the extra piece right there. Next, I'm going to make like another little tag with this cardinal. And this one you can see it has that acetate in the back with that white design going on. I love it. It looks like kind of like snow in a way, like snowflakes. And then again, just a scrap piece of a die cut that I used that I still haven't used. And so I just snipped a part of it off to look like a plant coming out from behind it. And then just gluing the cardinal down. And then I'm going to glue down one of the hole reinforcers. I got a punch for that. It's from We Are Memories. I use it quite often. And I like gluing that down first before I punch the hole out so that I know that it's centered exactly where I want it to be. And then, of course, since I have a hole in there, I need something to tie on it, a topper. And so I used this fabric. I wanted the white stripes, so I cut off a section and I was cutting the blue off of it because I didn't want the blue. I just wanted the white because of the texture to that fabric. And so I made sure it was long enough. I got 2 pieces and then just tying them right on there, just like I did with the other one with the straw. And I absolutely love how that turned out. So now I got a cute little tag. And here's a close-up of all of them that I did. There's the one with the fabric. Here's the one with the napkin. There's the eagle. Here are some of them that I got, upwards. Here's the feather, the hawk, the bald eagle. There's the owl. So cute. The coyote. And with the rest of them in the back. And then the other owl. Here's the ones that I made into little tags. These were so much fun to make. Now I know why she loves making them so much. She makes them every year. They're kind of addicting. Once you get started, like, you can really go to town on these. But I couldn't remember how many I made. So I was counting them really quick. But I hope these inspired you and makes you want to try some as well. They're super fun and I would definitely recommend doing them. If you like this, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and I will talk to you later. Bye!